Because really, there's a fine line, and you need to realize there's a fine line between joking and bullying. There's a fine line there. I love, and most of you know that I love to joke and be sarcastic, and my greatest friends know that I'm constantly joking and laughing, and I love to laugh. I love to joke. And my youth group knows that I am very, very silly, and I joke around, and I laugh a lot with them. But I have also caught myself joking too far and going too far and realizing that I'm not exercising wisdom when I'm joking around and having fun, but I'm actually poking fun at the expense of other people, and this will hurt your ministry. People will lose respect for you. I know that there's a person in my youth group who I used to, before I got in church, I used to mess with so bad, so bad. And there's some people who, even when you become preachers and ministers and everything, it becomes difficult for you to not to joke around and play around, especially when other people are doing it. You just want to join in on the fun and joke around, and you can easily excuse yourself and say, well, we're just playing and having fun and all that. But are they viewing it that way? They may be laughing, but that doesn't mean they're not losing respect for you. They may be having a good time, or at least look like it, but that doesn't mean that they aren't losing that view of you as a minister. You have to be so careful with that, especially with young people. If you're involved in youth ministry at all, you have to be aware of that and be careful with that. Because the thing is they don't have what you have. They don't have the favor of God. They don't have the confidence that you have. They don't have all these things. And it's your duty as a minister to help them get to that place. But how can you help someone get where you're at if you're not treating them with respect? Ephesians 4:1 says, I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called. Now, you walk worthy of this. He's saying that you need to walk accordingly with your vocation, with your ministry. You need to walk worthy. Now, none of us are worthy. But he's saying, here are some things that you have to do if you're going to be used in this vocation or in the ministry. With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Now, how many of us can say that is our place, that is our ministry, that we are completely endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace? Don't use somebody as a joke, and don't have fun at somebody else's expense, but be careful with that. And also, you're going to deal with people who, the other side of it, who are overly confident and don't have respect for you, and they don't have this respect of you as a minister. And I've had people speak out against me openly. I've had people lie about me openly and say that I did something that I never did. And I've had people lose respect for me because other people were talking about me. But in spite of all of that, it is never a minister's place to lash out, get upset, and go and talk bad about them. You have to love despite their rebuking and despite their rebellion, and despite all that, you have to love. There is no place in the ministry for someone to be upset and to lash out. You have to love endlessly. You have to esteem them greater than yourself, and that's difficult because some people they don't deserve it a lot of times. But you have to treat them that way. You have to treat them with greater love and greater respect than you would yourself. No greater love than this, that a man should lay down his life for his friends. That means that basically you take their life and you make it more important than your own. You consider it their duty to be alive, and their greater they have a greater purpose to be alive than you yourself. You have to begin to view them in this light. If you put your own needs in front of others, then and you can't help but to put your own needs in front of the needs of other people, then you're in the wrong ministry. You're in the wrong business. You need to get out of this business. This business is about serving. The ministry is about serving other people. And if you can't serve, then you're in the wrong. The first sermon I preached was called "Why Not Now," and I remember it like it was yesterday. I preached this sermon, and people came to the altar, and God blessed us. But I remember after that sermon, I cried and I wept before God more than anybody else in that entire place, because I had this sense, this feeling like this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This was a God thing. This was God moving inside me. This was it. I had found it. I had found my life's purpose. I had this intense feeling like that. I also, however, remember the second time that I preached, and it was about a month or two after that, and I preached a sermon called "Get Off the Floor, You Dog, and Let's Party." Yes, I was listening and reading to a lot of Jeff Arnold at the time, and but I had built myself up after the first time preaching. I built myself up to be something, and I grew overly confident and overly prideful, and I remember hardly anybody came to the altar, and I tried my hardest to get something to happen, and I couldn't, and I remember ending that night weeping and crying before God more than anybody else in that place, because I had a feeling and a sense of, this is not right, this wasn't it, this isn't my life's purpose, this was a me thing, not a God thing, and I had a complete different response to this sermon than I did to anything else, because basically there's no room for pride in the ministry. There's absolutely no room for pride in the ministry. If you have pride in the ministry, you won't make it very far, because this isn't about a me thing. This is about a God thing. And in fact, the third sermon I preached about pride, because I realized that I messed up that night, and so I preached about pride, and God moved again, and I was restored in the ministry.